Hi, Steve.
Uh, it's great to have you here, and also great all to our viewers live and remotely on our channels. So, before we start, a few housekeeping notes about Startup Grind. We at Startup Grind, we have a dream or a vision. The vision is to change the world one startup at a time. This means we give startups, companies, not only startups, but companies everywhere the education and the opportunities they need to build, grow, and scale their companies. Our values are straightforward. We believe in making friends, not only contacts. We believe in giving first, not taking. And we believe in helping others before helping ourselves. But now, without further ado, let's switch over to Loic. Loic, could you just, really in a nutshell, in a few words, tell us what Mixvoip is doing, if uh, and also for those who eventually don't know what Mixvoip is offering?
Okay. So yes, I'm still after 15 years of Mixer not able to have the perfect pitch, but to explain it to a Luxembourgish audience, the simplest is we are a telecom provider like Post, but our customers are limited to businesses only. So we provide internet, telephony, IT services to businesses in Luxembourg and in Belgium, Germany, and France today.
Oh, that's not a small endeavor. That's today. Let's get a little bit back in time where it maybe all started. We met at a company called VoIPgate. And if you could just tell us what made you move to VoIPgate, or what made you to develop VoIPgate? What were what was the trigger to do it, to step it? Because I guess it was not a corporate endeavor, but it was already an entrepreneurial endeavor.
Yes, so actually, yeah, my first job and my uh, only job as some sort of an employee was at VoIPgate. And after I failed university, after only 6 months in Brussels, I came back to Luxembourg. I was writing my CVs, and actually, no one hired me. I never got invited to an interview. So skills I'm still lacking today. But as a 18-year-old with some friends, I had started let's say, a student project where we did web hosting and such things. And so I came back from university and I started, well, without a job, continued on this, doing a few websites here and there. And then I found out about this technology called VoIP, and I studied it, and I played with it. And then I met people from data center EuroDNS, and they said, "Hey, listen, we want to do something in VoIP. Why don't you join our project? You will get a salary." That was already amazing news for me, and you get a few shares. And so I said, "Yeah, this is great." And that's actually when I met Steve, because he joined EuroDNS and VoIPgate and Data Center, this whole group as well.
Okay, great. This means what is interesting is you got immediately this employee and shareholder point of view very early on in your, let's say, professional journey. And you were referring to VoIP. This means voice over IP. And at that time, it was not a household name. That's the least we can tell, because I mean, at that time, that was were still the time of fixed line, fixed phones, even some where you had the rotary dial. The time, for those who don't know, who are a little bit younger, there were a time where you had a rotary and you needed to draw each number, wait that the rotary is back, and then draw it again. And it was a different technique. And voice over IP was using the internet, and that was very new and very fresh. But could you tell us a little bit also how you got there? Because I guess it was not your first calling in order to evangelize voice over IP in Luxembourg and abroad. How did you approach that one from, okay, saying, okay, you did the development, but on the other hand, also to have other people understand your vision or what you are offering? Because it was early, and then if you take the innovator's dilemma, I mean, you were the innovator, let's call it the innovator, but then you needed the early adopters to find them who use it and eventually would also be able to pay for it. How did you approach that
Okay,
one?
so just to put it time-wise into the context, we are writing the year 2004. I think Skype wasn't really invented yet. There was no smartphone, no touchscreen. There was not even mobile data. It's the time of the first Blackberries, for those that remember. And bandwidth speeds for corporates were around 2 megabits or 10 megabits. So there was not even really bandwidth to do good voice calls. But telecommunication was like expensive. It was hard to get into the market, and as I started with my website and server, so I came from the open source world, from Linux and all this scripting, and this asterisk software has just came out in version 0.1, buggy, a lot of bugs, and it allowed you to transport voice from one point to another, but on, let's say, shitty bandwidth. So it wasn't really working for anyone, but I just find it fascinating how you could do calls for free in a super expensive market. So that's how I started. And yeah, I found these guys from Data Center and Eurodiners, and they said, yeah, this might be the future. And if it might be the future, then why not start now, build something? They had a sales team, they had access already to customers, they knew about business. I, at the time, was 22. So it was for me a perfect combination where I could follow my technical passion, surrounded by people that want to build something, willing to take risk, and had sales. Like I knew nothing about sales and how to build a product. And so they brought in the first leads. It was challenging for the leads because they had to beta test our solution, and it was not really usable in a business environment. But the cost saving were tremendous. I mean, we could just slash telecom costs we divided by 10 every bill, but with worse quality. So it was quite of a trade-off, but every time you want to build something, you find people willing to test and help you. And I found it in form of of my employer, but they found them in form of customers. You have always innovative IT managers that want to learn about the latest technologies. They want to learn about trends, and they are willing to bet on you, take the risk, and test with you and see where it's going. Obviously, some of those customers just went to trial period, never signed, said, hey, listen, come back in 2 years. Some went to production and were quite frustrated and left, and some stayed. And so bits by bits, we started building VoIPgate during the next 4 years. And it was a great adventure for me. 22, knew nothing, could learn everything. I was literally working my ass off. It was really like 60, 70 hours per week. But then out of the blue, we found a great contract with Tele2 from Sweden. And you have to know, this is now, we are 2-3 years later, and Skype was launched. It was former Tele2 employees, so they were in competition and said, we want to kill Skype, and they were looking for a contractor to develop this for them. So basically, they contacted everyone in Europe that is playing with the technologies, us included, and they said, hey, can you kill Skype? We give you the budget. It was a very limited budget. It was literally impossible, but it was super fun. And this is as well during this project where I met Emil Stoyanov. We're still working at Mixvoip today, and yeah, we had 2 years for this big company. Where I learned a lot about project management, but this was a super fun experience.
Great. This means now, from this experience, and I guess I know the answer, but I ask it anyway, is what made you make the move from an employer shareholder position towards becoming a fully fledged entrepreneur, let's say, to kick off VoIPgate? What was the trigger for it?
It's actually pretty easy. I was young guy, lacking the necessary filters, not coached in the best way, and just very frustrated with management, company structure, decisions. And because I was 24, I had no loans. I was renting. I just moved out from my parents' home. I'm not a father. I literally had nothing that, yeah, salary is good, but it was not my main objective. I wanted to have fun. And so out of frustration, I just wrote an angry long email with capital letters and say, hey, listen, this is it. Please fire me. I need to do something else. I had no real plan except frustration. Now that Mixvoip is bigger, and looking back, I can honestly say that I was wrong in all points. Management was not wrong. It was definitely me and lack of know-how. And so they fired me. Like I asked, I took 1 or 2 months to think what to do. I actually wanted to do something else, but then I said, okay, listen, I know how to do VoIP. I found a few people that were interested in. There was my co-founder, Pascal Knebler. He found a company called EON Network Solution, an IT service provider. And then so together we thought, okay, let's build this. Bandwidths were getting better. We are now at ADSL speeds, so affordable bandwidth at 10 megabits. And they had as well, again, access to customers, and not saying they had a big sales team, but they had a solid customer base, very loyal one. And so I was joining them in their office. We created Mixvoip, and I continued basically where I left. But we were underfunded, like no money, like really bootstrapping. And bits by bits, it started growing.
So this bit by bit, this growing, this means, okay, you had the vision, you had the team, the partners to do it, to develop it, to get off the ground. And then how was it to get the first, let's say, paying customers? Because there's one thing to convince potential prospects to use it. And especially, as you were saying, either it was new and there was nothing really they could compare it with except their, let's say, their traditional communication bill. But how did you position yourself there in order to win them over on the one hand and to pay the invoices?
Yeah, I mean, there's maybe a tiny lesson to learn here. People often tell you don't sell the price, sell the value, etc. But basically, just 4 years after VoIPgate, I started at VoIPgate. Basically, my co-founder and EON Network Solution, we were very complementary. So I know tech, and I knew how to work my ass off to get a product up and running, and they had access to customers. So they went there and say, listen, we cut your bill by 2, by 3. Do you want to test? And what changed is now the product is more or less working compared to the VoIPgate session. What changed? Yeah, bandwidth increased, so one issue solved. Asterisk was less buggy. I by far had more experience, and so they went to their loyal customer base and visited them, say, listen, we have invested in Mixvoip. It's good for telecommunication. We don't have a telecommunication solution. Do you want to test? Do you want to change? And so EON brought in the first customers, and my co-founder is 10 years, or maybe even 12 or 13 years older than I am. So he had a far stronger network. And he brought as well some IT managers he served before, and they were willing to test. And out of those early customers, I don't have the numbers, but I think 90% are still a customer after 15 years.
Oh, that's great. So on the one hand, you have a loyal customer base. On the other hand, the products and services you are offering to them, they seem to fit their need. But now, if you have, okay, we have the company, you have more or less the framework to develop it. And as you were saying, it was from something which eventually, from a technical side, from the service product side, could work or could deliver some communication to something which works, which is more or less stable. How did you go about it to upgrade, to adapt your products and your services? Because it's one hand to say, okay, we know that now we do now, let's say, telephony, voice communication, saying hello, hello, and so on, forwarding and so on. How did you go about offering more services? Because if you only offer, let's say, communication, pure communication, voice services, you were really competing with the, let's say, the incumbents, as you were saying, incumbent telecom operators and so on. How did that evolve so that on the one hand you kept your customers, got new ones, because also their needs and their services probably evolved over the time. How did you approach? How did you within Mixvoip? How did that evolve?
Okay, so there are a few things. The framework at that time was different. I'm not saying it was easy, because it was not easy, but we had favorable conditions that were like our competitors mostly ignored us, probably laughed at us, and were very comfortable. Customer support at our competitors was very bad. They had their market share. They were so we basically just had to go to the customer and be a little bit better. And every time we improved and added new services was mostly through a tough lesson learned. So we're on a deal, we want to sign the customer. It was actually IT Nation, I still remember. So quite the company close to technology. They said, oh, this interested us, no open source, we want to support this. And we had already our first partner, like reselling our cloud system. Well, it wasn't really full cloud at the time. And they were as well selling internet, and they won the deal, and not we. And yeah, then life was quick. The customer said, listen, we want someone that offers us telecommunication and internet. So by losing this deal, we were saying, okay, we need internet. So let's look around. Who can help us with internet? And so at the time it was Visual Online. They kickstarted us. They helped us. It was a great relationship and offered us access to their internet backbone, which we just created a bundle. Here's voice telephony communication together with internet. And as such, the first upgrade was made.
Okay,
now,
that's great. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'll let you ask a question. Maybe I can bounce back later.
No, really. And it's amazing to see that you took, with Mixvoip, you took the partner approach. This means instead of doing everything yourself, you were getting together with partners who could offer the services or complementary services so that you have a full service or full product to offer to the customer base. There's something popping up, and with partners, and if you're teaming up, how did you bundle it? Was it Mixvoip, who was the face to the customer, or was it more, okay, you were relating to resellers and so on, where they holding the customer base?
I'm a fan of transparency, and if a young company goes to a customer and says, "Hey, listen, we are a full-fledged internet provider," serious customer might say to you, "Yeah, how did you build an internet provider overnight?" So we were pretty transparent. We said, "Listen, our internet runs through this telecom operator, they provide it, but what we will offer, we do the support for you. We put it on your invoice, so it's a single invoice, but we were transparent of who would actually deliver the service. And customers were fine with this, because if you start lying and inventing stories and making you look much bigger than you are, I think it can seriously backfire.
Thank you. So we're now in the phase where it gets off the ground and really the hockey stick comes. How did you live the growth, the scaling of Mixvoip? Because there's something different on being a little bit a geeky community of friends and pals. Then you need to get a little bit serious in order, because we are talking about business, we're talking about customers, we are talking about employees, and so on. And how did you see within Mixvoip this evolution, this scaling? Was it something, let's say, which you didn't notice yourself because you were so much in grinding, and then it went on, and then and by chance you notice it that you were received a certain scale, achieved, sorry, a certain scale, and also a certain customer base, and they were relying on you. You have more obligations to them, and so on. Or was it something which you would say, which you maybe not yourself, but within Mixvoip, you plan to strategize? How is that? Because they are the two. There is always two. The one, okay, it happens because you are working well, you are offering good services to the clients, to the customers, and so on. Your products are really point to the needs of them, or you are doing good work, but you also strategize, you plan, and so on a little bit in order to move it forward. How was it within Mixvoip? There's no bad and wrong answer. There good or
Yeah,
wrong answer there, really.
When we started Mixvoip, we said, let's build something. Maybe it will grow one day. Maybe we'll be 5 people. That will be awesome. Let's have fun with technology. And there, I don't say there was a vision or strategy, but basically how we did it, we were just listening to the customers, and every customer say, hey, can you develop these features? The answer was just yes. And it was easy to do because we literally had no customers. So I had the time to develop this feature for this customer. And so customers thought, wow, this is amazing service. I have an idea and I get it. And most of the time they got it like 24, 48 hours later, because I was coding this during the day and during the night. And so it became more feature rich, and other customers heard from this. And then we could actually provide features that others didn't. And the other thing, I think, I'm not saying I'm a good listener, but I remember a few stories like we had at some point another partner came on board, like reseller. It was Are, and we didn't have, for example, a ticket system for customer support. And then one day Jean-Guy called me and said, listen, Loic, when will you finally get a ticket system? And so you get a ticket system, and you become a little bit better. And I remember one of the first customers was Inoway. So I was coding the billing system to generate the invoices, and yeah, the accountant there was nice. Say, listen, you have to change this on the invoice. Here's the date is wrong. This is not so legal. Please change it. And so the billing improved. And I think it was all those small stories, and it was like customers and partners that really shaped what Mixvoip is today.
That's great. I mean, listening to everybody and also absorbing it, that is generally one of the way we hear from our fireside chatters. But on the other hand, I mean, you had when a structure or corporate, a company, let's call it a company, grows, develops itself, scales. On the one hand, you also need a little bit some foundation, even not really corporate governance. Don't call it like that, but a little bit of governance, and also on the one hand, you cannot always develop new features for the clients. You need to prioritize. It it's suggested that you prioritize it a little bit so that you can streamline, and it's maybe easier to sell, to package your products and services. How did Mixvoip approach that part?
Yeah, I mean, I don't say that there's a let's take the packages. What pricing do we go to market? Well, I did a calculation, like not very business oriented. I said, okay, I want to pay myself as a minimum salary. So that time maybe it was 2,000 euros. So I said, okay, 2,000 euros. I can do 2 hours of support every day. Every customer needs X minutes per year of support. So this equals to how many users we need. So if I sell it for €3 per month, then I can pay myself a salary and do the support if we reach the critical mass. And then I said to my co-founder, yeah, we only need 70 customers. And he says, oh, listen, this sounds good, 70. And then he asked, how will we get 70 customers? I was like, yeah, that I don't know. But so it's really bits by bits. And then at some point we notice, oh, €3, let's try 4. And then let's try 5. And then at some point, competition no longer ignored us. They were aware, and so they were like basically putting similar offers out there at a more expensive prices, so we know exactly what the price point was, and we could adapt to that. In terms of corporate governance, I mean, I had to learn how to hire people, eventually even to fire, and this is even today very difficult to hire people to do a good interview. And at that time, the interview was super short. It was like, hey, you came, nice. Do you want a job? Yes. Do you want to work? No, I don't want to work. I just that you sign the paper of Adam and say, listen, I sign your paper of Adam. Good luck. And then at some point, someone says, no, I really want the job. Okay, great. Do you drink beer? Yes, from time to time. Okay, thanks, you are hired. Like I was already happy that someone even applied. So that was how the first employees were basically hired and onboarded. And then team was small. It was fun to work with them.
Yeah, I mean, a small team grows a little bit bigger because also you grow bigger. I mean, Mixvoip grows bigger. The customer base hopefully grew bigger. The product services got probably a little bit more refined, more, and as the needs of the customers were changing. How did you witness or live this growth? You were just relying to how shall I say, to resources, to human resources, but there's also other resources, logistical resources, operational resources, because there's something which you can do in your garage or, or in your kitchen, but in order to deliver the service, a professional service to your customers, probably also you needed to adapt that bit of the company. Or am I mistaken?
No, the company has to change everything, but basically one problem at a time. I guess there's still many problems unsolved at Mixvoip. Or let's say like this, when we became 10, then 11, 15, 16, like it was growing quite organically, slowly. And some people told me, oh, okay, nice, but pay attention. When you become 50, it becomes tough when it comes to management. And I was like, yeah, okay, well, maybe. I don't know. We're still only 15. So and then one day we become 50, and those people tell me, oh, you're 50, pay attention. It becomes tough. And I start to meet other people that work in slightly bigger companies and say, oh, listen, our company management is a mess. So, oh, I think it's still going fine. And then one day we became 100. And then I noticed, like, when you look back and you see all the small bits and problems, and then you see, okay, now I understand what they meant. Indeed. And then you notice that you corporate governance, if you call it like this, is a little bit weak, unplanned, and you have to fix a lot. And it's difficult to, well, you see the problems, but you have no clue how to implement the solution. So you start talking to consultants, friends, other CEOs. You start reading books. You get all those super cool stories from Silicon Valley. You try one by one, and some are working, some are not. Some take years to have an effect. And yeah, that's basically where we are now, to be ready to scale again, to have a solid communications flow, reporting flows, OKRs, metrics, and all this stuff to make sure Mixvoip, with the current size we are 85, works well. But it's a startup that was scaling from zero to nothing, and it's actually super hard to find people that can tell you how to do it. There are not so many startups that do this. Some did it 50 years ago, but you can apply a few lessons, but even they do not know the secret of their success. So they would love to share it if they have it, and then you are always in a different phase than others. Do they have time? Do they want to help you? So it's quite hard to have access to solid information. So you basically do trial and error. You check what works, and then you do something else if it doesn't.
No, that's great. And it's interesting to see because if I get the comment and the remarks, it's really resonating with our viewers, that one, because you're alone, you're on the journey. Each journey is different, but there are some common threads or paths with each journey, and that's what we try with our fireside chats a little bit to highlight and then to inspire about that one. On the other hand, I mean, that was a Luxembourg company, mainly Luxembourgish clients, probably also some abroad because it was, let's say, a cloud-based business and so on. And then I guess comes the time where you also need to be a little bit closer, geographically speaking, to your clients in order to address also these markets. I mean, not only in Luxembourg, but in France, Germany, Belgium, or you name it. How did you go about that, or how did Mixvoip go about that one in their geographical expansion?
Okay, so it helps when you do not know a lot of stuff or risks. So because then you don't fear to take them. So at some point, we definitely. I'm proud of this. And also, the whole team, we had some success in Luxembourg, and then we noticed, yeah, we started with friends as a customer, friends as a shareholder, and then we said, okay, would we succeed in a different country where we literally have no network, no friends? Could this work? And so it was like more of a challenge. Hey, let's check what's on outside Luxembourg. So Pascal said Belgium, I said Germany. Okay, let's do both. Maybe crazy idea. And so we just say, okay, let's create a company there, and let's see. Let's hire a few sales. If you're a developer or tech person, and Pascal and I are both tech person, it's very, very hard to hire sales because you have actually no clue on what to look for. You want people that delivers customers, but you don't know how to hire them. And actually, the main question that I never ask myself is, why should someone come and work for Mixvoip? Like, yeah, why should a good sales come? Like, you don't have marketing, you don't have traction, you don't have notoriety, you don't. We didn't even have a commission system until 5 years ago. I mean, sales just had a salary, and that it. So at some point, you start hiring sales, and the first sales, for example, in Belgium, are no longer there. Same for Germany, because we didn't lack this. We lacked the skills to find the good ones. But finally, I have to admit, after some time, we found very skilled ones, and it's taking off. It's going well, but with a totally different strategy than Luxembourg. For example, Belgium, we do a lot of business through tenders, public tenders. Germany, we do mostly healthcare. So we found a niche there because it's a huge country and they were not waiting for Mixvoip to show them how telecom business works. They apparently know how to do it. And so we found our both, would not say niches. Belgium, we got some notoriety. Germany, obviously less, but it was just the challenge, like getting out of the comfort zone and say, hey, could we do this? And then we just tried and made a lot of mistakes along the way, but finally found a few things that worked.
No, that's interesting to see that that you need what you said about the risk. On the one hand, if you're not aware of the risks, you are not afraid of them. And on the other hand, when you are able to do trial and error, that's amazing. But that generally only works if the culture of the company is gearing to that one, is enabling it. On the other side, in the company itself, you were sure when you start small, you are only a small team and shares it so on. And over time, did you get different shareholders or partners which were more involved in the business on the one hand, in order to assist your growth, your development? Not from only from the financial side, but more really shareholder side, partner side, and so on. And how did that change your appreciation, your appreciation, maybe not your point of view, because you probably had to give away some, let's say, autonomy in some parts, or did that not happen? Were you lucky that okay, you could move on as it is, and the partners you had let you do as you would like? I mean, let the culture kept the culture as it was.
Okay, so basically, in company you have the different sub-organization, you have employees, you have management, you have customers, and you indeed have shareholders. They play an important role. I can say today that I was probably lucky, or by luck was able to manage them well. But I gave a lot of equity. I was today I regret this because Mixer was doing well, and I say, oh, I should have kept more shares. But on the other hand, maybe if I weren't able to share the company with someone else, then maybe it wouldn't be a success. And in that case, I would have more shares from a much smaller business. So I don't even regret that. What I was able to do is split the decision on shares in a way that I kept the majority on very, very important votes. So even though I do not owe a lot of shares, I owe a lot of decision power. I do not know if it's part of the success of the shareholders, because at some point they knew, yeah, we can give input. They have as well power and could block decisions, but they know that at the end we have to all get along, and we pretty much did all get along very well, because all of the initial shareholders are still there. At some point, we did not really raise money through new shareholders, but along came a sales guy, Frederick Van Holder, and he said, listen, I came from another startup. We did a research and development project. I know how to do this. Well, at least he said, and what Mixvoip is doing is far more innovative than you think. Let's go to the government, present something, and get some government money. And we did this together with University of Luxembourg. We had to raise some money, but could do it among the existing shareholders was, I think, 200,000 euros, something like that. And we did this project, and then Mixvoip started really scaling. So that was our first increase, but it was more through an R&D project. And then 2018, I think, some Luxembourgish group of companies, IT and real estate approached and said, listen, we want to invest. They were nice, some was good. So every shareholder, from the early investors, my father gave away some equity to get this shareholder on board. This was Group Wagner. They stayed for 3 years. We got along well, but not too well, otherwise probably they would still be there. So it was not big fights, but it was like a fundamental different view on how business should be conducted, what we should do with Mixvoip, and at some point to say, listen, Loic, we want to get out. Can you try to find someone that buys our shares? And that's where history comes together. That's where I called my first and only employer. I called EuroDNS and say, listen, someone wants out, you want to buy Mixvoip shares, even though I left Voip to create Mixvoip. And they said, yes, let's do something together. And that's why today we have data center EuroDNS on board. We meet regularly, and I think the collaboration is going well. So I can't, I actually, sometimes it was annoying. Mixvoip had most of the years good numbers, but some years were negative, were rough, and then everyone calls and asks questions. Did you do this? Did you check this? Why do you notice so late that we did a loss, etc.? I don't think they meant it in a bad way. They wanted to help, but when you know that you had a bad year and basically you are responsible and fucked up, it's quite annoying. But it was well meant, and I'm actually very happy with my shareholders because they give me a lot of autonomy.
That's great. So we are coming slightly a little bit to the end. So let's look back with hindsight. Are there any things, actions, decisions which have occurred, which you would have done differently, or with the knowledge of today, you would do differently? Are there one or the other? If there are none, great. But if there are one or the other, would be nice to share them.
Okay, if I would say none, I think it shows some that I would not be self-aware or do not see problems. I mean, you can't take every decision and it's perfect. The problem is when you do take that decision, you do mistakes and you learn. So saying that another decision would have had a better outcome, I will never know. But the list of decision, I can list a few. For example, at some point, yeah, this startup mode, you create a company, you want to create more companies. So at some point, we created a company to book party rooms in clubs to go partying. So nothing to do. We had a company to sell second-hand cars. We had a company in sports media, and it's not that I regret this because it was fun to look for second-hand cars. It was fun to have a release party of the website to book a table at the VIP club. That was actually super fun. But I think it would maybe serve Mixvoip better if I would have focused. When I noticed that I dream quite a lot in my corner, and I have big ideas, but I lack the skills to share them and onboard people and share my enthusiasm. And so sometimes it creates frustration. And today there are certain decisions I would say, okay, I should have done more meetings, more talks. And yeah, when you hire people, I should have hire slowly and fire faster. So that has big takeaways, but I think the most important thing is to do mistakes and try to learn from them, even some mistakes I have repeated multiple times.
That's great. And then to finish, looking forward, how do you see the evolution of Mixvoip, or what would you like to see to happen? Not only in the evolution of Mixvoip, but in the evolution of the ecosystem. Let's call it the ecosystem. It's economic, market, everything. What would you like to see to happen?
Okay, so it's Startup Grind Luxembourg, so let's focus on the Luxembourgish part only. So there are a few things I regret when it comes to government. It's that there should be more startups, there should be more innovation. Europe, Luxembourg, we do not innovate enough. We try to attract big multinational here. It's good, it's stability, it is everyone, I don't know, second, third richest country in the world. It's great. But the problem is this comfortable money flow is actually not giving anyone a reason to start a business. So if you want people to start a business with you and you start at the government at salaries that are out of the startups league, so startups cannot hire someone into their budget or even with shares exchange. So I think the government is blocking innovation by hiring people too early, too fast, that are young, hungry, have no strings attached. That's something I would love to, like, they can raise their salaries, but let's keep them low at the beginning, maybe make them increase them later at the end, but to give people motivation and a challenge to look around and maybe start a business. They can join the government later because we need good people there as well. Let's not forget this. And if I would reflect at Mixvoip, what I would love to see at Mixvoip, it's like at some point when the company is growing, you need to find people around you that really get things done, that take ownership responsible, and that really. So I have to build this management structure with these people that are not that are very motivated and skillful. We have those, but we need to move to a thing where people actually say, "I see this problem, I will solve it, no matter what." And there is a lot with the current size we have to work on our internal processes and workflows.
Great. Thank you very much, Loic, for sharing your insight and also the journey. I am sure it inspired a lot of our viewers and will give also some food for thought for the ecosystem here in Luxembourg. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Steve.